Each Other is a podcast about the importance of human interaction. It provides reminders that we are not intended to live in isolation. Human beings need each other. The things about another that pisses you off and the things that take you over the moon are all opportunities to see through another's eyes, recognize their intrinsic value, and then look more deeply within ourselves to find the love that's always there. Today's episode of We Need Each Other is reuniting me with someone from so far back in my past that I am just so delighted because I discovered her on social media. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Mariann Aalda. In the 1980s, Mariann Aalda was a daytime television pioneer as one of the first, and still few, African-American soap opera heroines, playing the feisty young criminal defense attorney DiDi Bannister on ABC's Edge of Night. Today, at 72, she's blazing new trails, prosecuting ageism. I love it. That's a very brief bio of the many, many, many things that Mariann has done over the years. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But Mariann and I know each other from childhood, and she was a couple of years older than me, and she has a sister that's, I think, a year younger than me. And I had a friend that knew them and got to know them through her. And so I'm so excited. We just figured out we haven't seen each other in 30 years. In New York was the last time we saw each other. At least 30 years. Right. That's crazy. But now look, because of quarantine, we're looking at each other.
There you go. There you go.
Even though you can't see us looking at each other, you only hear our voices, but we're looking at each other.
And let's just say we look good too. So you don't.
And we look good. We look good. Exactly. Mariann. So, you know, ageism is a thing that you've moved into at this particular time in your life. And you have done some other things along with your acting. But I do want to ask this question to begin. Aging for some is potentially demoralizing and depressing. And you found a way to turn it into something that's joyful and comical while being very real. What was the pathway that brought you here?
Okay, let's see. There's a couple of parts to that question, question,
yes.
or a couple of parts to the answer. As an actress, I had a great career for a good 30 years, made a great living on television. Then when I hit my mid-50s or so, the casting directors just stopped calling me. I wasn't getting called in. And if I go back and I think about it, you know, Jennifer Lewis says she's the mother of Black Hollywood. Well,
yes, right.
When I look back on my career, I was probably the wife or the girlfriend of Black Hollywood. I played Dennis Haysbert, Ernie Hudson, Clifton Davis, O.J. Simpson, Shirley Hemsley, Meshack Taylor. I was usually associated with, I was the wife or the girlfriend of. And I think because I was not considered a character actress, but I'm going to put this in air quotes, the pretty girl, what do you do when you're 50? You ain't the pretty girl anymore. So what do we do with her? She's not quite a character. As a matter of fact, my agent at the time suggested to me that if I gained 50 pounds, I could probably do more character work.
Oh, wow.
Now,
no.
I said, well,
not having it.
No, I'm too vain. I was vain as a young person, and I tell all women, vanity is my friend.
Yes,
it's
right.
My friends. It is a great motivator. But anyway, back to what happened. So in my mid-50s, in my early 50s, I had an 18-month period when I didn't make enough as an actor to qualify for my SAG health insurance. So I lost my health insurance. My father died. My mother was diagnosed with cancer. And my husband at the time decided he didn't want to be married anymore. So that was like the big midlife crisis trifecta.
Yeah.
And I thought, I decided that I would, I still needed to make a living. So I went to the Hypnosis Motivation Institute in Tarzana, California. I spent a year in training to become a hypnotherapist. Now, you can learn to hypnotize somebody probably in a couple of weekends, but to learn to use it therapeutically, you need to understand about triggers and childhood trauma and all these kinds of things so that you can really work with the people. And in their program, the last 6 months, you have a mentor, but you start seeing clients and your mentor comes in and advises. Well, most of my clients were women in their late 40s, early 50s. And they were all suffering from the same syndrome. I mean, it acted out in different ways, but they were all depressed. And I came to realize that they had already been hypnotized by the media, by society, and so believing that women lose value as we get older. And, you know, it was one thing when the life expectancy was 50 or 60, but when you're a 45-year-old woman, that's only the first half of your life. What are you going to do in the second half? And so these were women who were floundering. And the funny thing is that actors tend to be highly suggestible. So as I was giving my clients the positive suggestions about what they could do with their lives, my subconscious mind was also taking it in to the point that I could no longer treat clients if I was not living my own truth. And my own truth was, if I can tell them to be all that they can be, then I was going to reclaim my acting career and figure out a way to do it on my own terms, because that's what I love to do. That really is who I am. You know, God gave me certain gifts and talents and abilities, and I kind of feel like also an assignment.
Yes.
Because I look as my acting as my ministry. So I've never approached acting as a look at me, look at me, look at me. It has always been a sense of showing something about the human condition that would lead the audience to have a better understanding of that. So my very first one-woman show was called Snap Out of It. You've only been hypnotized into believing you're over the hill. And I did it at the auditorium there, at the school auditorium there at HMI. And from there, I recorded it and made a CD out of it. And I had these little postcards that were put up, and Iona Morris, whose father is Greg Morris of Mission Impossible, happened to see it, and she said, "Oh, I'm kind of working on something like that too." So the two of us got together, and we our first show we got together with another woman, Lola Love, and our very first show was we called ourselves the Three Black Chicks, and we did Haratica. And it was kind of a sketch show, cabaret, and we were three women, Lady M, Lady L, Lady I, and we just talked about, a lot of it was just about sex. A lot of it was just about sex. And then Lola went off to do other things, and then Iona and I decided that we would continue, and so we did a two-person show called MOIST, which is an acronym for the Multiple Orgasm Initiative for Sexual Transformation.
Okay.
And again, it was about women and sex. And we did it at the National Black Theater Festival. We did it in LA at a number of different theaters. And we did it at the theater in Pasadena, the Fremont Center Theater, and a lot of different places around town. And we got a lot of positive response. And
can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Both of these beginnings for you started with things that were about sex. You were experiencing the ageism of your industry. Is it because you had a belief that remaining sexually active helped to keep you youthful? Is that why you went to that topic? I'm just curious.
No, the reason we went to that topic was because the importance of sex is just beyond the sexual act. I think for women to feel sexual and sensual about themselves, it has nothing to do with, it has to do with embracing our feminine and how we feel about ourselves as women and how we present ourselves into the world. And because a lot of women were feeling rejected sexually or as sexual creatures, it was affecting everything about how they felt about themselves.
That makes perfect sense.
Because it affected their identity.
Yes, absolutely.
So it was, like I said, vanity is my friend. The fact is that if I don't look good, I don't feel good, and I don't look good to please anybody else.
Yes,
I look good to please myself when I look at in the mirror.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, wait a second. If I can, wasn't planning on this, but this is one of the monologues from my show. Let me back up a little bit. The Negro Ensemble Company decided that they wanted to produce the show in New York. I moved to New York from LA, and once I got there, they ran out of money.
Okay.
and Iona had wanted to do other things because she does a lot of directing. She has a movie out right now that's making its way in a lot of film festivals. And so I thought, well, this work is still important to me. So I decided to continue on. And the first show that I did in New York, I started workshopping it, was called Occupy Your Vagina. How I came up with that title was that I was subletting an apartment in the Wall Street area. And every time I came outside of my apartment, I would see these people protesting with these Occupy signs. I said, Occupy your vagina. And I would say to people, I said, it's a metaphor or not, however you decide to take it. And I workshopped it at Dixon Place there in New York. And then I started doing festivals. I did it at the Chicago Fringe, the New Orleans Fringe. I did it with the Whitefire Theater. And the feedback that I got from women, I eventually expanded the topic. And the show became now, my solo show is Getting Old as a Bitch, but I'm going to wrestle that bitch to the ground. And it broke a 30-year box office record at the National Black Theater in 2019. And then in 2020, in February, it was picked up by the Billie Holiday Theater in New York. And again, it sold out. And I thought, oh, great. I was going to go back to LA during pilot season. I thought, I'm going to get me another show. I'm going to do my show. And of course, COVID hit, the pandemic hit, and it shut everything down. And I look at my acting as my ministry. How can I enlighten? And what keeps me moving forward during the difficult times is the feedback that I get from the women in the audience who are letting me know that they have need of this. I've had so many women tell me, oh my God, you've told my story. When I talk about the fact that I am a cancer survivor, I had uterine cancer, I have women come up to me and tell me that they had felt so uncomfortable about discussing it with anyone, that they had felt less than a woman because their uterus had been removed. And the fact that I was able to talk about this and out in the open and get them to laugh about it, they would walk away feeling uplifted, which when you go to church, that's what you want to do. You want to walk away feeling good.
So it's your ministry. I get it.
So that's what it is I will do. But I'm going to back up because you did ask me about that. In one of the stories, one of the little monologues that I do in my show is called High Maintenance Chick. And I would like to share this with your listeners right now.
Okay.
I say, in my struggle to, in my quest for, on my journey, I have on occasion been bludgeoned by the moniker High Maintenance Chick. And I often felt compelled to apologize, but for what I was never quite sure of. I mean, for what? For being myself, for getting eyebrow waxing or wearing lip gloss, or just because I wanted to feel good about myself, or going to the gym, not to take care of not to be somebody's decorative ornament, but to take care of my body because I have to look at it in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it's the therapy or the wisdom that comes with getting older, but I no longer feel compelled to apologize. I now take great pride in being a high maintenance chick. That's right. I'm big, I'm bold, I'm italicized. 3 exclamation points, a high maintenance chick. Mm-hmm. And to all of my much maligned, misunderstood, misrepresented high maintenance sisters out there, this is what I suggest you say the next time somebody tries to drop a dime on you because of your standards. Baby, you cannot treat a thoroughbred the same way you treat a plow horse and expect to maintain the same high quality thoroughbred performance levels.
Okay.
Now, since you're with me, I assume what you're wanting is a thoroughbred because plow horse doesn't live here anymore. But I will understand if it's all too new to you and it's too much for you to handle, in which case you will just have to move on. But before you go, remember this. A thoroughbred is sleeker and faster and will get you in the winner's circle. And oh yes, did I mention that you also get a better ride? Giddy up.
I love it. Yay.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it from memory. I haven't looked at it in a while, so I kind of messed
up. Yeah,
it's
awesome. I love it.
You get the gist of it.
I do. And so, I was going to ask you, how did you continue to know your value had nothing to do with your age, but just that it's because of who you are. It's just because of who you are. That you would never identify yourself by ageism.
Well, something, and that's the whole thing too. I'm trying to reclaim and reframe the word old.
Yeah.
A lot of my women friends, it just happens that way. My LA crew are 10 to 15 years younger than I am. It just happens the way it is. And sometimes I will say, I'm sorry, I have to go home now. I'm old. I'm tired. Go, oh, no, you're not old. And I go, yes, I am. I'm old. Right. I don't have a problem with that. It's just like, people who are on the heavier side of the weight spectrum have reclaimed the word fat, or the LGBTQ community has reclaimed the word queer. It's like, I'm old. I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
So exactly. I'm trying to bring, first of all, honor and dignity to the word, because it's like, yeah, I'm old. I put in a lot of time on this planet. I want credit for it.
Yes.
And when I talk about my vanity, I'm not trying to look young. I'm 72. I'm trying to look good and healthy and vibrant at 72. So when people say, oh, you don't look your age, I go, yes, I do.
I do, because this is the age that I am.
Right.
Exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
And
sometimes when people ask me how old I am, I go, how old do you want me to be? Because when you say your age, they go, no, you're not,
Yeah, or their demeanor changes when they go like, oh.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they kind of, it's like suddenly you are diminished in their eyes. Right. They thought you were a hot 50-something. They go, oh, you're 72. You haven't changed. You're just the same person that you always were.
The same person. So that's what they don't understand.
Yeah. So we need to change that. Not only that, but people age differently. I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about the mindset.
Yes, that's important to talk about. Yes.
Old. I was an old 25-year-old.
Exactly. I had a friend who was old, like forever, always. She was just old, had nothing to do with her age. So now she's really old. I think she's more youthful now than she was when she was younger, actually.
I think I am too. I think I'm like Benjamin Button. I'm going backwards.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But when I turned 50, the most annoying thing to me would be other people, my age that turned 50 right before me or right after. They just claimed all of a sudden there was like a demarcation line, because if they were trying to Like you're trying to go like, oh, what's her name? And, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm having a senior moment. You know how it is for us now that we're 50. And I would go, I don't know anything about that. And I would ask, so are you telling me that when you were 10, you never forgot anything?
right.
Like, what does that have to do with your age? Unless you claim it.
Right.
You claim it and then it becomes true for you,
Right.
is what I see. But it's just that you haven't claimed that for yourself.
Right.
You know?
Right.
You define what it means to be 72. That's a beautiful thing.
Right. And it is whatever you decide that it is.
It's whatever you decide. Yep.
You know, and as long as I'm on the planet, I still have goals for things that I want to accomplish in my life. There are things that I want to do. And I think if you give yourself a goal, then you wake up every morning with an objective in mind. And sometimes that's the thing that'll get you out of bed.
That's right. Exactly. Because, I do talk to people that are my age. I'm 69. And they're like, they do nothing all day long. They have nothing planned at all day long. I'm like, okay, one day of that in the week is good. Okay, but how you do that every day? I don't even understand it because I have to have something to get up for, something that floats my boat, my passion somehow expressed. That's important to me. I've created more things since the pandemic. Like I'm busier now. And, a lot of people are busier now than they were before we were quarantined,
Yeah.
Can you believe we're still quarantined? That's crazy when I think about it.
Yeah, it is. It is. But it's also, like in my instance, it's reconnected me to a lot of people.
Yes. Oh my God. Like you. Yeah, absolutely.
There we go.
There we go. Right here. It has. It's been a beautiful thing about it. I was having a conversation the other day about somebody saying how this has been just an awful year, terrible year, 2020. And I was like, I don't feel that way about it. I mean, we've seen some stuff, but so much good is becoming because, as we were saying before we started recording, we are in a transitional time. We are in a transitional time. And the way to look at aging is a part of that to me. I mean, look, we have old presidential people, right? But they're presidents. But
yeah, well, I can't believe I'm quoting Dr. Phil here, but I am going to quote Dr. Phil. He said, you can't change what you're not aware of.
Say that again.
Yes. Okay. You can't change what you're not aware of.
Right.
And the thing is that there are so many things that needed to be revealed.
Yes.
That have been revealed.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I have white friends that I have tried to explain things to, that we might be in a situation and they have said, well, I think you might be being a little sensitive, or I don't think, and I would say to them, that's how these people respond to you. That's not how they're responding to me. So you're not getting what it is that I'm getting.
Right.
And they either didn't see it or didn't want to believe it. But I don't have to explain that to them anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Because the same people who hold grievance against me because of the color of my skin hold a grievance against them because of their political beliefs.
Yes. Okay. Exactly.
So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So there
Yes. I have a question. Do you believe, because I've wondered about this myself, do you believe that the experience of aging is different depending on where one lives, country, region,
yes,
culture,
yes,
all of that?
Absolutely. If you put vegetables in a soup and it's got a lot of salt in it, it's going to take the flavor of whatever you put the vegetable in. So whatever soup you're in, I use a lot of metaphors. Whatever soup you're in, whatever your surroundings, whatever circumstances, the tendency is to take on some of the flavor of that. So if you were with a group of people for whom aging is, I'm old now. I've got to stop doing whatever. That means I can't do this anymore. I can't do that anymore. And they start to limit themselves. Then you tend to take on the tendency of the people that you're associated with.
Yes.
So if that's the case, and if you don't identify with those people, then I say get yourself some new friends.
Right, exactly. Yes, exactly.
You know, find the people, find your tribe. That's what I say. Find your tribe. Now, my tribe of women friends tend to be a decade or so younger than I am.
You know, that's the same. That's true for me. That's true for me as well.
You know, and I think that's just, but the funny thing is that they look to me for guidance. It's like the women that I was saying, you know, because they're in their 60s now. When they were 50 and I was 60, I would say, you know, okay, we have to stop now rehearsing or whatever, or I'm going home. I'm tired. But girl, you just, now that they are 60.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with, as a matter of fact, Iona the other day. She said, girl, I understand now. She said,
right.
I realize that sometimes I need to take a nap. And
I love naps. I love naps.
Yes, I do. You know, and so I'm kind of like their, you know, for them, the poster child of what aging well is like. So they kind of get it now. And then we laugh and we talk about that. But I would say living in California, there is definitely a different mindset about aging, in as much as older people tend to be more involved and active and, air quotes again, youthful. However, it is probably one of the most ageist parts of the country.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's like, if you don't meet that standard of youthfulness, then you're useless. Now, in the Midwest, I would say that people tend to adopt the behavior of old. I will put that again in air quotes. But getting old is more acceptable. So I would say that when I am in the Midwest, because we grew up in the Chicago suburbs, when I am at Phoenix, Illinois, people, okay.
Phoenix, Illinois, Harvey for me.
There you go. Thornton Township High School, yay.
Thornton Township High THS. Okay.
Right on for our fame. Okay. Or there's the, in the land of the rolling prairies.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't go there. But so when I am in the Midwest, I'm kind of almost like, and the women I went to high school and college with, I'm a little bit of a, you have so much energy. You're just blah, blah, blah. And they attribute it to the fact that, that I grew up in California and I'm an actress. But that is just innately who I am.
It's who you are. Yes.
I think we come to this planet. We hadn't discussed this, but I'm going to talk a little bit about my spiritual beliefs.
Please.
I believe that talent is what God gives to you. What you do with it is your gift to God.
I love that.
And that if you don't utilize it, like in the Bible, there's the talents. You don't want to bury your talents. I think our assignment when we are born here, it's like, I figure, we got to be here. We got to incarnate as these people. So, it could never have there's no guarantee that we would ever have been born. The personality that is Mariann, if my parents hadn't met, if they hadn't gotten together, if they hadn't had me, I mean, the fact that we are alive is a miracle in itself.
Yes.
So, and I think we're all part of the same entity that creates everything. We're all a part of it. We're all drops of water in this big ocean. So how are you going to contribute to the ocean? It's not, my life is not just about me. How am I going to contribute to the greater good of my community? And I think why we're in so much trouble these days is that we've forgotten about that. We've forgotten how to cooperate. When we cooperate with one another, if you go into the forest, plants cooperate.
Yes.
Animals cooperate with one another.
Yes.
They take care and nurture one another. So I think if we, and we've gotten too caught up in looking at what everybody else is doing and comparing our lives to their lives, and maybe I should be doing that. Well, don't look at them. Don't look out. Look in.
Look in. Inward. Listen in. Yes. 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 So that's been a practice of your life.
Yeah, I was a weird child.
Me too.
I
was too.
I can remember when I remember one of my earliest memories of thought. I was 4 years old. I remember my parents were having an argument. And I remember as a 4-year-old thinking, why are they yelling at each other? Because that way they can't hear what the other one is saying. I was 4. I remember that. And then I can remember when I went to Catholic school, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But one of the tenets in catechism class, God always was, always will be, and always remains the same. And sometimes at night, I would have to turn the lights on because I would try to imagine, well, if God never was, then what is nothing like? And then I would scare myself and have to turn the lights on because I thought, because if God always was, well, if God never was, there would never be anything, and who would know?
Right.
So,
I have a question about your hypnotherapy. How did you use it to take people out of their beliefs? How did you do that? And how well do you feel that works?
I believe in hypnotherapy 100%.
Because you went all the way with it.
I did. I think depending on, like I said, I was kind of an odd child. I think everybody has their stuff that they grow up with. Some of the things that are, inherited because of your parental beliefs or your community's beliefs. And if you don't necessarily believe that way, you might grow up with some stuff. Okay.
Yes.
So I've always been a proponent of talk therapy. So whenever I had a problem to solve, I would go to a therapist and kind of like work it out. Like if I was having a marital issue or something like that, which ultimately led to the divorce, or I think I had a lot of personal judgment and about behavior that was in the should category that maybe was a should for other people, but was not necessarily a should for me. And if I didn't ascribe to that, would that make me a bad person? So those were my issues. And the thing about hypnotherapy is that when we think certain thoughts, a lot of the thoughts that we think are just habits. And we get into that frame of mind of thinking a certain thought. Well, the way the brain works, it's like we're wired that if we think certain habits, the brain is wired, those thoughts go into a certain groove, and we tend to respond the same way to different sets of circumstances if we're triggered. And the thing about hypnosis is that you don't have to talk about it. It just breaks the wiring. It changes. It changes the synapse of the wiring. And, some people are afraid of hypnosis because they say, oh, I don't want to be different. You don't end up being different. You go to a hypnotherapist and you say, this is my issue. This is what I would like to work on. I feel that in certain circumstances, I respond this way. It doesn't feel good. And I find that it's affecting how I respond in certain things. The hypnotherapist works with you And, say if you were feeling, I at the time, I worked a lot with people who had weight issues. It's funny. I did have this one woman, I was working with her over the phone, and she was overweight. She wanted to lose 50 pounds. And I did a guided imagery with her, just got her to relax. Hypnosis can't make you do something that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave her suggestions that she really loved fruits and vegetables. And that I said, and now you can, when you taste a carrot, you chew it and you can really enjoy the flavors, the carrotiness of the carrot. You taste the sugar.
Mm-hmm.
You taste the sweetness. And I did a lot of this, with the different things. I said, and now when you see cookies, you eat a cookie, it tastes too sweet. Anyway, I worked on her with that. A week later, or I think it was 2 weeks later, we had a session. I said, well, how is it going? And she said, well, I don't feel any different. I mean, I've lost 5 pounds.
Okay, but
I don't feel any different.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. I'm like, well, because it's so subtle. Her behavior changed. That she wasn't eating as many cookies. She wasn't doing some of the negative behaviors, but she was still herself. But she wasn't connecting that with the hypnosis. Nothing has changed. I don't feel any different. But I lost 5 pounds.
Yeah, right.
And that's how, when hypnosis works, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Because it's subtle.
It's subtle. You can say if you're, feeling, if you want to work on depression, and you might take the client into, what triggers the depression? What makes you unhappy? What's going on there? And you might work with them on that. And then they come back the next week and they say, well, how's it going? And you say, well, no, I just, nothing has changed, but I feel better. I just feel, that's how hypnosis works.
So my curiosity now is sparked. If you find someone who's a staunch racist and they're willing, well, I back up. Can anyone be hypnotized?
Anyone can be hypnotized. As a matter of fact, we are living in a hypnotic culture.
Yes, we are.
So that a lot of people are walking around in a trance.
Yes.
Because what happens is that hypnosis, there are a lot of hypnotic modalities. And a lot of them are being utilized in our political system. Yeah. There's repetition. When a claim is made repetitiously over and over and over again, you forget where you heard it, and all of a sudden you've adopted it as your truth.
Yes.
Because our beliefs do not happen on the intellectual level. Our beliefs happen to us on an emotional level. So if you are tapping in somebody's fear, and then you give them a solution to it, and they hear that, they were going to adopt that as their belief and then their truth. So that, because there's some things that are happening politically right now that I really don't understand. I'm like, how can you believe that? That is crazy.
Yeah.
It's not crazy to them.
It's not crazy to them.
Because that is their reality. But if you said, if somebody didn't want to be a racist anymore, first of all, if they didn't want to be a racist, I think the fact that they made that decision intellectually will change them from being a racist. So they wouldn't need to be hypnotized. But
sometimes I find, Mariann, that you said something earlier about you, like you don't know what you don't know. I don't remember how you put it. Right. But sometimes those biases and that racism is so deeply ingrained in a person that they don't really recognize it when it's coming up and when it's coming out. They don't. The people of color around them hear it, feel it, sense it, but they don't really realize that they've been off color because it is a part of who they are. So can hypnotherapy go in and dig that kind of thing out? And then the other side of that is, and I'm talking about Black people have been told all of our lives in this country, of our worthlessness, of our limited nature, of all these things that sometimes intellectually we know that's not true, but sometimes we're operating from it anyway because it's so deep in there. Can
Right.
hypnotherapy shift and change those kinds of things on both sides?
Absolutely. Well, um, about Black people, about the negative beliefs that one has about themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that can be changed. That can be changed because you're going from a lower density energy to a higher density energy. And that can be changed because it's something that you want to believe. You want to feel better about yourself. Now, for somebody who's a racist, or it's like a racist isn't going to ask to be to be hypnotized so that they won't be a racist anymore, because they would say they wouldn't seek it out because they're really happy being a racist. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have the idea that I would like to change this about myself, that's already happened. They've changed, right? They've changed. They will change their behavior, and so I don't think that's a hypnosis problem. I think that's talk to other people and get greater understanding if you want to do that. But if somebody is going to stay stuck on stupid, I can't do anything for them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Well, it's a good thing for the Black people part, because so we just are, we believe, even unconsciously, we believe things that have been said about us, and we demonstrate it. We demonstrate it over and over and over again. And it's important that we pull those things out and really look at what the truth is about who we are, and not what we've been told and what others have been told that we are.
Well, there's a word, if you look at the word family, if you look at the word familiar, the root, it comes from family and familiar. So some of the things, especially for older generations, some of the things that we learned from in our family were basically tenets of survival. Work hard, got to be happy 10 times as hard as the white person to get the same things. Be meek, be mild, be polite, all of that stuff. Don't make waves. Those are survival instincts. Sometimes you act on behaviors when the circumstances have changed.
Yes.
So hypnosis can help with that, can bring you up to speed and say, okay, let's take a look at that. Because what happens is that we get triggered. If something feels familiar, we act on what's familiar, what feels right. It may not be what is right anymore, but because it feels comfortable to us. So sometimes when you want to change and make a more positive behavior, the first couple of times you do it, it might make you feel uncomfortable because it's not something you're used to. So what hypnosis does is that it kind of acts to kind of coach you into feeling more adapting to the certain behavior so that your emotions and your body are in comfort with the new behavior.
I like that. That's good. We're going to have to talk more about that.
Okay.
Do you still practice hypnotherapy at all?
It's funny because no, I do not. I don't take clients on anymore, but I do use it in my everyday behavior in my life because it's something that one of my therapists said once upon a time. She said, never try to have a conversation with a crazy person because they can't hear you. And she said, but if you are silent, the only words left hanging in the air will be theirs, and then they will have to listen to them. So if somebody is getting really angry or huff and puff, I will disengage and I will just sit and be still. And then at the end of that, they will have to look at their own behavior because I haven't given them anything to project onto.
Yes. That's good. That's a takeaway right there. That's good.
Okay. good.
We all need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. So
because we jump in and then it's like this battle and nothing's happening.
right,
Nothing's being accomplished. Right.
right. So I do that in my normal everyday behavior, just in getting through life.
Yeah.
I will, calm down. And also neuro-linguistic programming. The words that we use, how we language things. We should be, there are some words that are inflammatory. Like racist is an inflammatory word to some people. So if I'm trying to get someone who I consider to be a racist to understand them, I'm not going to use the word racist.
Right.
And when you want somebody to understand your point of view, you use the personal pronouns like, this is how I feel. This is how this makes me feel. You don't attack the other person and say, you make me feel this way, because then they're going to get defensive. You will say to them, when you do this, this is how it makes me feel. I don't feel good, when you say that. Could you help me with that?
Yes.
And, when you take personal responsibility and personal ownership for your own emotions, which we all should do, to begin with, you can get the other person generally to help you with that, because everybody likes to think of themselves as being helpful.
Yes, exactly.
And if they choose not to, then you can choose to walk away. Sometimes you need to just walk away, bless them, and walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mariann Aalda, what does the future hold for you? Where are you headed? What you doing?
Ooh, well, since I stopped doing, since I couldn't do my solo show, I'm turning it into, I'm turning it into a book. I would like to be, working again as an actor, but I look at it from the point of view of when the right part comes along, I will do it. One of the reasons that I left Hollywood after my early 50s is that I became an actor to be a part of I'm a storyteller by nature. And I became an actor to help enlighten people, to get them to connect with something beyond, to embrace something new. And if I'm not part of the story, it's like, I don't want to just be judge number 9 for a paycheck.
Yeah.
So that's why I started telling my own stories, wrote my own show, do stand up why I'm writing more. And as Hollywood makes the change and begins to recognize the value in telling the stories of older people, I will be there to meet it. Because I'm staying relevant by the work that I'm doing as an actor and as I don't call myself an influencer. I call myself a positive aging evangelist.
No, I love it.
And so listen, if anybody's listening, you can follow me on Instagram at Mariann Aalda, the Crone Crusader. Because
Crone, like CRON?
Crone, CRONE.
N-E, yes.
Crone Crusader. Because the crone as an archetype, a crone is a wise woman.
That's right. Exactly.
And so I am crusading for for women to be recognized as wise and crone, because it's not, some people just get old, but they stay stuck on stupid. Embrace your wisdom, embrace the wisdom that comes with aging, and don't try to hold on to your youth. There is a certain, that was one part of my life. Now I am entering a new chapter. And it's funny, when I turned 60, I remember thinking that, I've never been old before. And I looked at turning 60, I looked at getting older as like going to a new country. I've never been to the land of old. What do they do here? What do they do here? What do they do here? What do they eat here? What is the culture here? And so I kind of went through that during my decade of my 60s. Now in 72, I'm a citizen of old now. I'm a citizen of old, and I can impart wisdom to, people who are just coming to visit old, and, the new residents of old. And I can say to them, well, this is what we do here, and this is what you can do, and this will be fine. So that's kind of how I look at myself as the greeter on the Love Boat. I'm the greeter to the land of old. Come on.
I love it. I love it.
And I feel that is my assignment, from God. That is my ministry. That's what I'm doing. Because God gave me a sense of humor and a lot of energy and a big mouth. So I just figured this is how I'm supposed to use it. And like I said, when Hollywood gets to the recognition of a change in consciousness and a change in the depiction of what older women are like, I will be there to represent that.
And we're calling that forth.
Yeah, okay.
We're calling that forth. We're not going to be quarantined forever.
No, we won't.
We're not.
We won't. Yeah. Especially for Black women, one of my favorite shows on the air right now is Grace and Frankie.
Yes.
On Netflix. And I love that show because these are, and Jane Fonda's 80 and Lily Tomlin is 78, I think.
Yeah.
And they're obviously older women, and they talk about some of the things that come along with older, little aches and pains and stuff like that that goes along with it. But they're vibrant and alive. And the thing I would say for anybody is to stay curious. Stay curious. Want to know more. When you stop being curious, that's when you die.
Oh, those are great final words. Stay curious.
Yeah. Oh,
stay curious.
One final word. I wanted to invite everybody to go to my TED Talk.
Yes.
I have a TED Talk called, the title of my TED Talk is Ageism Is A Bully. Stand Up to It.
Yes.
And so if you Google me and,
and we're going to spell your name.
Okay.
So it's
Mariann.
No E.
No E. Okay. Last name Aalda as in David A. That's Mariann Aalda. For those of you who remember Harry Belafonte, it's like all day, all night, Mariann. And for Aalda, I say it's like Humpty Dumpty. Aalda, king's horses, and Aalda, king's men. But the URL for my TED Talk is Ageism Is A Bully, TEDx.com. That's ageism, and it's at ageism, AgeismAbullYTEDx.com, because it's a TEDx talk. And in that talk, I compare ageism to racism and sexism and all the other words that begin in ism. It stands for I subscribe mentally. But you can cancel those subscriptions.
Yes. All right. This is beautiful. I have so enjoyed talking with you. I just feel like we could just talk forever and ever. So when quarantine ends and you get an acting job out in LA, we'll see each other in person.
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. Or I could just come home and see you in person then. You're in Chicago area, right?
Yeah, but I'm planning on moving to South Carolina.
Okay. I have friends in South Carolina. Okay.
Well, they're great because for some reason, the water I'm feeling this gravitational pull towards the water. I want to be able to get up in the morning and then take a walk on the beach, which, there's beaches in California. But I'm kind of feeling this pull towards the East Coast. So maybe I'll be working in Atlanta. Who knows?
Oh, there you go.
Come visit me in Atlanta or LA, whatever God has in store.
Whatever God has in store. Quarantine is ending sooner than later.
Absolutely. And
it's coming.
And the name of my performance art character for my solo show is Dr. Ginger, adult sex ed evangelist and mojo motivator.
Okay.
So that's kind of, It's like we need to keep our mojo going and keep everything juicy and just like I said, stay curious.
Stay curious. Yeah, stay curious because we need each other. We
Absolutely.
need each other to be curious in order to be a vibrant, important part of the world that's happening.
Right.
Your own personal world. It's important to remain curious.
Yeah.
We need each other. Thank you, Mariann.
Thank you, Francesca. It was my pleasure.
Yes, absolutely.